So many people have questions when they're buying or selling about plumbing, as far as if you have a septic system, if you have a well, what plumbing repairs should you do before you put your house on the market? And so Kyle Daly has joined us today from Bob's Plumbing. I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions if that's okay.
Yep.
First of all, why would it be important for a buyer and a seller to have a septic inspection done on a house that has a septic?
Mainly because you don't know what you're getting into. If it's a 10-year-old system, who's to say they didn't pump that system or there wasn't an underlying issue from the start, which can happen. You know, it could be a soil issue or it could be multiple issues down the road. So at that point, you're just seeing if the system is good or bad.
Right. And a septic system is a big ticket item. What is a new system? And I understand that there are different types of systems. So maybe if you want to cover that a little bit, and then the cost for a new system.
Yeah, I mean, it can range anywhere from $5,000 up to $30,000, $40,000, depending on what you have. It goes based off of soil and the location that you're in. You know, if you're going to be in a sandy soil, you can get away with a conventional system where it's going to be your cheapest rate.
Less expensive than a mound.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now, if you're getting into clay or rock or something that effluent, we call it, which is what's pumped out to your system, the ground is not going to absorb that effluent. Now you're talking about a mound system, and then it all goes based off of bedrooms as well. So the more bedrooms you have, the bigger system, the more money you're going to spend on this system.
So it mainly goes by bedroom count, not by bathroom count?
Correct. It's all off of bedroom.
Interesting.
Specific formula that they go per, I think it's 150 gallons per day per bedroom.
Do they allow holding tanks anymore?
They do. If you have the option to have conventional or mound system, then they're going to do that. Yeah. Zoning is going to push and say, especially with the DNR as well, they're going to say, yeah, you're going to have to do that. Most you're going to see in our areas like Lake Redstone, Dutch Hollow, you're going to see that in Dutch Hollow.
Where the lots are smaller.
Yep, where you don't have a room for a system. Yep, you're going to see those. Or we've done it for, let's say you want to buy some property up here and you just want to put a camper there and you want to park your camper, we'll just put a holding tank.
Okay.
And because it doesn't make sense to do the whole system for just a camper.
Right.
Let's say 5 years down the road you want to build a house on that same property. Now you have to have it rezoned and you have to get rid of the holding tank or utilize the holding tank and then put a drainage system in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Is that expensive to do that? To do that type of conversion?
Depending on the soil that you have.
Okay.
It's gonna vary. Like I said, you already have the tank there, so you're obviously gonna save on the tank. You already paid for that, so now you're just paying for the system itself.
Okay.
So.
And a lot of people get confused as far as maintenance of a septic system goes. You have to have it pumped. Is it every 3 years?
Every 3 years.
So that does not mean that you need to have it inspected every 3 years, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So just a pump and doesn't include any type of inspection, or can you?
You can get an inspection. I don't think you necessarily need it. I would say once every 10 years, get an inspection. Just have it gone through, have it looked at, make sure everything is operating correctly, and you can kind of go from there. One thing a lot of people don't know about septic systems is a lot of the times you have a filter inside of that septic, and that filter is actually supposed to be pulled once a year. All you do is you pop the lid. There's usually a filter in there. It's called a polylock.
Okay.
And you just spray it off with a hose.
I did not know that.
Once a year, you're supposed to do that. And I would say 95% of the time, people just don't know.
They don't know about it.
So any times, like if we're doing a new home build or something like that, we'll actually sit down with the homeowner and say, these are the steps that you should take.
Yep.
We can't force them, obviously, but it's what you should do about once a year.
Okay. Yep. That's good to know. I mean, you change your furnace filter once a year, right? Or twice a year, whatever it is. But I guess it's the same thing.
Just saves the life of it.
Yeah. All right. I have a really important question. The locks that are on the septic tanks, do plumbers have like a universal key to get into those? Because I have never had a plumber ask me for a key.
Yeah. Yes and no. So a lot of the times, it's kind of like
you pick the locks, don't you?
No, usually, like on a mound system, you'll actually have an electrical box out there, and we'll put a set of keys in that electrical box.
Okay.
We'll give one to the homeowner, one in that box, so there's always one there.
Okay.
But most of the tank manufacturers in our area actually use a specific lock, and they all have the same key.
Okay.
So it seems like the only time that we really have to ask is if a homeowner goes and changes it and then there's not a key.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'll just cut the lock and we'll put a brand new one on there. Something that we can come and get done.
I've literally never had a plumber ask for that, and I always wonder, like, how are they getting into the locks? Because it's a mystery.
It's a big secret.
Mystery. Okay, so let's talk about well maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you need to do to maintain a well?
The well itself, no.
Okay.
I would say if you have a filtration system or a whole house filter on your well, which would be inside the home,
Okay.
then you're going to have maintenance on that. But as far as like the exterior on the well itself, there's not really any maintenance that goes along with that. Honestly, you don't really want to pop that cover because according to the DNR, every time you pop that cover, you have to chlorinate that well because now you're allowing bacteria into that well.
Okay.
So I guess, to that question, yes, you probably should go out and look at your well cap and the electrical conduit going down into the ground because if any of that is broken or misshaped or if it's allowing bacteria to come in, then, now you could be putting bacteria into your well. You don't want to be drinking that.
Right.
We have seen that where a lot of times you see it on a farm where it got hit by the tractor. They kind of just leave it.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, we had one where the cap was completely off and it had a mouse nest built right on top of there.
No.
And the mice would actually die and fall down into that well. So we had to pull the well, suck all the water and all the gunk out, and then chlorinate it and fix it. And that was a good 3-day process. And it wasn't cheap.
Wow.
It's not cheap to fix.
So important that cap stays on there.
I would say,
Say
that would be your only maintenance is just visually inspect all that, your well cap and all that. And make sure it's good.
Okay. Do you guys have any trouble with wells freezing up? Sometimes you see people put hay around their, like where the well, connection goes or whatever. Do you see trouble with that?
Sometimes, so below ground there's actually what's called a pitless, and that's what the pump hangs on. And if that's not put deep enough, the frost will get down there and actually freeze around that pitless.
Okay.
So, but majority of the time, guys are putting them 6-7 feet down in the ground. Wow. And unless you have a cold winter where it's negative 50 plus, you're not going to have an issue. Okay. You shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Importance of having a water inspection then, just to make sure you have safe drinking water. After hearing the story of the cap, it makes a lot of sense to have the water tested.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you could get into some E. coli bacteria or you can get into some nasty stuff. Yeah. That not good for you to drink, obviously. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's very important.
Garbage disposals. I'm a fan of them. Yeah. But they get stinky.
They do.
And so what's the plumber's take on the garbage disposal?
Every plumber is probably going to be different. My take is I don't like them, and here's why I don't like them. For one, they stink. Now, if you live in town, people say, oh, well, saving the garbage man a trip. Well, you're really not, because now you're taking, let's say you put eggshells or you put bread down there. Now you're taking it and you're dumping it down your sanitary sewer. And what most people don't know is they have to actually screen all that stuff out of the sanitary sewer.
Okay.
So now it's costing them more for taxpayer dollars to do all this.
Sure.
And then now with I'm not going to say that it's bad for your septic tank because it's not really, all your solids sitting in a separate tank than all your liquids that goes out to your drain field.
Yeah.
All your solids should sit inside of a tank, and then that filter should take care of that, so it's not going to wreck that, but they stink.
They do. Well, you took ours out because I was like, I cannot. I tried everything. The lemon, I think we did baking soda, like a dishwasher cleaner I tried in it. Tried everything.
Yeah,
vinegar. I watched a lot of TikTok videos, and I did all of them, and none of them worked. So you removed it for us, so thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Not a problem.
As a homeowner, are there certain things that you should do as maintenance things every 6 months or once a year that help to maintain your plumbing, septic, well, things like that?
Yeah, so I would say probably the biggest one is flush your water heater once per year. Okay. There's normally on the bottom of your water heater, there's going to be a hose spigot of some sort. Okay. Tap onto that, put the hose outside, turn the water on, and just flush it out. Obviously, turn your heater off.
Okay, so why do you do that? Why do you flush it?
So you're going to get sediment in the bottom of that heater no matter what.
Okay.
And it's going to coagulate, and it's going to settle down at the bottom. So that's all you're doing is you're just getting all that sediment and all that gunk out, and you're just flushing it right out. And it's just maintaining that tank itself, because a lot of times you'll see the bottom of that tank will rust out, and then
Yep.
that's where it leaks out. So you're just
Yes.
preventing that.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So, and then as far as visually inspecting everything, your well, your tank, make sure your tank lids on your septic are tight, make sure your well seal is properly sealed. Making sure, most people aren't probably going to go on their roof, but if you have access to go on your roof, check your vent pipes and make sure there's no birds making nests in there or
Sure.
anything that's going to allow sewer gas back into your home.
Yeah.
And that would be,
Yeah.
mainly just flush heaters and
Yep.
make sure nothing's leaking, obviously. And
We have a lot of vacation homes in this area, and I've noticed over the years when we show them if they're vacant, if nobody's been here for a while, when you walk in, you can really smell that sewer
Yeah.
gas. And I don't know if there's anything that people can do to avoid that.
I've heard of people, they'll take vegetable oil
Okay.
and they'll dump it down their floor drains or anything with a P-trap. The thing that happens is that water evaporates. So that vegetable oil isn't going to evaporate inside of these P-traps.
Okay.
And it's not going to allow the sewer gas to come back up.
That makes sense.
And to add to that, a lot of these vacation homes, what we see a lot is when they're leaving their water systems on. And I would go shut the breakers off to your well
pump.
or whatever you got out there.
Yep.
And that way, if something does leak or a pipe breaks, it's not going to continuously run.
True.
It's going to dump the water that's in there, and it's not going to just flood your whole house.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One more question going back to septic systems. If you are on a septic, is there a certain ply of toilet paper that you should be using? Or is it is that a myth?
Yeah, that's kind of a myth.
Okay.
I would say the only thing that I would not flush down there is flushable
Yep.
toilet wipes. They
Yeah.
just gunk up,
Yep.
and they are terrible for your system.
Okay.
But as far as toilet paper goes,
Doesn't matter.
use what you want.
Yep.
Thin or thick, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
It's great news. Kyle, thank you. This has been very helpful. We
Not a
appreciate
problem.
it.